six, five, four, three, two, one.
And we are continuing with the guns with Joseph Leonard. We have covered a lot today, and Joseph is familiar with all this politics stuff. I am not. Okay, I am not. I'm going to confess that. And the reason being is it's complicated. It's complicated, son. It's complicated, but it's important that we have the right to do what we need to do in order to protect ourselves. And especially if you're going into a business, they go after business owners. Why? Because they think business owners are rich. We're not. We're just regular old Joe Schmo trying to make it happen. So, we have covered so far guns in our business, guns and shooting, kids and guns. We need to talk about gun safety and what we could probably do in order to make sure that we're safe. Um, it takes, like Joseph said, it takes a village, and we got to figure this out because the government's not going to figure it out. Shooting have been going on since 1805, and like I said, it hasn't stopped. We look at other countries and we see how, oh, they're a third world country. Look at all the shooting and stuff going on over there. But look at what's going on over here. It's been going on. And what's crazy, it's happening in schools. Like I can't imagine seeing a little kid walking down the street on their way to school, and the next minute here he's laying somewhere. And I know if some of us are all religious, we believe, okay, they're in heaven, but did they have an opportunity to see what they had to offer? And what's going on with our mental health system? Why is it that we're closing down mental health facilities, opening up more prisons, and then we've got school shootings killing our little itty bitty, like, until it happens to, like, some government official where it was their child. This is our problem. It
Yeah,
becomes
and
our problem.
a big part of the problem, again, is the schools. We've gone to what I call the new three R's. They're peddling raunch through pedophilia and pornography, radicalism and racism through CRT. They're trying to segregate us rather than keeping the old classics like To Kill a Mockingbird. That's not about being racist, it's about the stupidity of racists. But yet they don't want that classic book in the school anymore. Instead, there's Colin Hoover smut books in the schools. And there's no respect, speaking of an R, being taught. There's no meaning to life anymore. It's all about whatever feels good now, do it. And you, it's all about you. Nobody else matters. No respect, again, as an R. Instead of teaching the old R's, like respecting one of them, reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science. See what I did there? I put an R in it. Because unfortunately, they've dumbed down our kids so much, they don't know that an R doesn't belong in science.
Mhm.
But you know what I mean? All those things that we used to actually teach, the basics, and we used to teach morals and respect. Dr. Seuss and Aesop's fables are under attack. You know, why? Because they teach basic values and some moralities in today's society of perversion. The other new R they're teaching. Again, what feels good, do it, and everybody else, to heck with them. And then when things don't go your way, like you said, there's not enough mental health uh, help available, these people snap because they've been taught they're special.
Mhm. That's true. Wow. Oh, this is why I say I don't even speak politics, because if I have to, it does something to me because I feel like I'm an empath in some way. And I feel like when I feel all of these things that it hurts. Like I'm a type of person, I watch a movie and when I see something, it speaks to me and I just start crying. And it's just like I can't watch the news. I can't watch people in power just allow these things to happen. Like it's just so simple. It's really honestly so simple. It's simple.
Yeah,
Just say, you know what? We've got a problem with guns. Let us think about every single issue and go back in time and see, well, why did this happen? They're like, oh, well, that was an isolated situation. It just happened because the parents. But why did the dad snap? The
yeah,
dad snapped because his son died. Why did his son die? Because his son did something so bad that it hurt somebody else. And he didn't
yeah,
think it hurt somebody else because it's just a bird. So they don't look at the incident and why it happened. Like we could, that's the issue they're having. And it's just such a confusion because it's like, well, the father originally was a right to have guns and he didn't shoot nobody up until as of that moment. Why? Because it snapped. He didn't want agreements. Now, I mean, there's got to be somebody who's got to go into this situation looking at it from a different, like you have investigators, right? That investigate
yeah,
homicide. You have like the NRA. They're all about the rights to have guns, right? Why don't they go in there and investigate these isolated situations and figure out how they can make the situation better for all of us to be able to, all of us can do it together. Have
yeah.
guns. Those who want to have guns, have
Two,
guns.
two things now, because, we've talked about a lot of things, and people likely only know me that are fans of your show through your show. To
Mhm.
this point, they're probably, yeah. So let me mention Martin Luther King. Content of one's character, right? And unlike these broad brush stripes of judging everybody by the group they belong to, or by you only seeing me on this show, and you might already now have this, well, he's a gun guy, he's some tough guy,
Mhm.
he's some tough guy, he's got no heart. You mentioned crying during movies. I do that all the time. you know, I I do have a heart. Now that
I'm the gun
teacher,
guy. I'm the
yeah,
tough one.
yeah. Now that teacher had their right to self-defense removed because the school was a gun-free zone. So they didn't have the chance to defend themselves against the guy coming to shoot them. All right. So that's partly a solution there. Your right to self-defense.
Mhm.
As they say, since we talk movies now, you see the old spaghetti westerns, right? The wild, wild west, as they call it. I'm sorry, people, those were movies. It wasn't all gunfights at the OK Corral every 2 minutes. No, it's like the saying says, an armed society is a polite society. There was actually a whole lot less shootings back then, except for maybe, again, yeah, if you have a duel in the street, you have two people squaring off, choosing to square off against one another. Have at it. That's two adults deciding to have a duel. Knock yourself out. But you would be an idiot to walk into a saloon, draw your gun on an innocent person, without provocation or reason, because in that Wild West where everybody was packing, you immediately had 15 guns drawn pointed back at you because everybody was ready to defend the innocent. No one is here to defend the innocent
Mhm.
anymore except the
Mhm.
police, and the police are always 15 minutes away.
And
That's
they're getting bad rap.
Yeah, and that's why we have a Second Amendment right to defend to carry and defend ourselves. And as we discussed before, gun-free slaughter zones. 15.3 deaths on average, whereas in regular places where law-abiding citizens like the Old West can either open carry or concealed carry, an average of only 2.3 deaths. So if you're for reducing deaths, you should be for people's right to defend themselves. Because again, it's not the object, it's evil people with evil intent, or people who grew up with this stupidity in our schools that they're special and they can't handle reality. And when they get a dose of reality, they snap and they use an object. It doesn't have to be a gun, like we discussed. It could be a knife. Cain killed Abel with a rock. You could strangle somebody with your hands. You can use a knife. You can mow people down with a car. So it's not the object, it's the evil person. And yeah, we need more mental health facilities. I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. But at the same time, I am indeed for more prisons. You know, I am all for 3 strikes. The problem here is weak on crime prosecutors. You get someone who commits a crime with a gun, and the prosecutor pleads away the gun offense. So they're not put away for the use of the gun. They're not punished for the use of the gun. What has society just taught them? You're special. Go ahead and do it over and over and over again, even until you kill somebody. We're going to let you get away with it. We've taught them, you get a pass, you're special.
Instead of just saying you need to go and get a license and do it the right way.
Yeah. And if you're committing crimes with guns, you need to be charged with the gun charge and do your time, learn your lesson, come out reformed. But if you repeat offend, I'm all for 3 strikes laws. If you're a ne'er-do-well, you're just evil, you can't be reformed, you refuse to be reformed, you refuse to be a respectful member of society, then I'm sorry, you are locked away for life. Someone else's life is on the line, and I am for protecting the innocent, not the criminal.
Well, I feel like them putting minor offenses with major offenses is a big issue. I feel like sometimes people have a bad rap, you know, and like there's no reason for people to spend 5-6 years in prison for a marijuana charge, or
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so I feel like
there's a difference between the user and the drug dealer, though. I will make that distinction.
Yeah, and there's people who okay, so there was a girl who she was smoking. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and she did a hit and run, and she left the scene, cleaned up her car, didn't call anybody, and the only reason why she came through was because she was going to get found out, and they gave her the lightest sentence ever. And I was like, that is our system for you. Because one, you got to look at the fact that the girl did not even, she covered it up. She could have called the ambulance. She could have saved his life.
I'm with you. Go soft. If she hit somebody, oh my God, I hit somebody. Immediately calls for an ambulance. Immediately calls the police. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I hit this person. Remorse. Then I am all for being lenient on that person. But like you said, this person's first thought, I need to get away. I need to cover up that I did this.
That's what a murderer do. That's what murderers do. They try to get away, and they try to cover it up because obviously they feel guilty.
Yeah,
Yes.
gotta
What's
throw
your only charge? Well, I was smoking while it happened. Okay, so that's your offense. You were smoking when it happened. You were smoking weed. You weren't smoking crack. You were just smoking weed. And of course, the person jaywalked right in front of you 3 a.m. So they jaywalked. They weren't paying attention. They were
there's
deliberately,
a
you know what I mean?
little bit of culpable liability in a case.
Yes.
Yeah, the problem is and that's the problem here. We give prosecutorial discretion and judicial discretion for a case like this. The problem is they misapply their discretion where it doesn't belong. Like I said, with the thug in the hood with a gun, constantly brandishing it, committing armed robbery, then let off of the gun offense, being taught that they're going to be allowed to get away with it until they literally kill somebody, rather than punishing them. It's a misapplication of prosecutorial discretion. Like in Michigan, they're talking about a mandatory law: one with a gun gets you two. I was on with Dick Kupke, Wham Radio, 1600 AM here in Michigan, just last Saturday. His show is going on right now. Yeah, he's on 11 to 1. You could go to whamradio.com and listen live to the shows. After we're done here, there's a show at 1 and 2 o'clock I usually call into. If you care to go to whamradio.com and listen live to those shows.
I wish I do. I have kids.
Yeah. The 1 o'clock show is called Your A Moment of Clarity, and the 2 o'clock show is Your American Heritage. There's also a friend of mine, Phil Stargell, a Black conservative, who has a show at 9 a.m. on Saturdays that I usually listen to. I missed it today because I slept in. But I was talking with Dick Kupke, whose show is called Trigger Talk. So I'm talking guns all the time with him. The one with a gun gets you two seems reasonable. It seems common sense. It seems like a tough on crime approach that I would favor. But like red flag laws, I cannot support it, because the problem here is the devil is in the detail. Unless if it says one with a gun who commits murder, or one with a gun that commits armed robbery, it's got to be specific, because again, this is to waive prosecutorial discretion, but we know they'll still plea away the gun charge for some people and try to misapply it to others. Like the example we came up with: some law-abiding citizen who has a gun permit and is carrying a weapon accidentally doesn't notice this is a gun-free zone sign on the door, goes in, somebody notices the gun, they get charged with trespassing, which is the right charge. They're fined for it, and that should be the end of it. But no, these prosecutors who are looking to persecute you and I, the law-abiding citizen, while they let the criminals back out on the street over and over and over again, can step up and use the one with a gun gets you two and charge somebody who just innocently doesn't notice the gun-free zone sign and put them away for 2 years and confiscate their gun. It's these constant misapplication of laws. So I cannot support that law that would otherwise sound like common sense.
Right.
It's because we have people who don't apply law with any common sense.
Right. It's just cut and dry. You screwed up, so now you got to pay for it. It's just the bottom line. And then it goes back to what I was saying with the whole hit and run. I mean, it looks really bad because the girl is white, so now it looks like you're giving favoritism to her, or because of that. And they didn't look at the whole thing. She left the scene. and they're
Yeah.
not looking at the whole situation. I mean, even say, for example, your example, the kid with a thug, is he a gang member, or does he live in that neighborhood and he's protected himself from gang members, but he can't afford
And
a gun or to
yes,
get the license?
exactly, exactly. It's the content of one's character and the situation involved. But again, in that case, um, far too many, because let's face it, there are still racist people. Instead of judging this kid on the content of his character and
Mm-hmm.
his situation, may indeed go after him. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, the persecution of the innocent rather than the other thugs with the guns with ill intent that he needs to defend himself against. Yeah, maybe you hit somebody, you think it's an animal, and you just innocently drive on. But then you realize
That ain't no animal.
that wasn't an animal. You turn yourself in. Again, I can see lenience there,
Yeah.
but you're literally washing the blood again. But if you wash the blood off, if you just thought it was an animal, but
Wouldn't you get out your car and go look?
right, you should.
Yeah.
That's part of the point here, right? So again, it's a complete lack of respect, lack of teaching respect and caring
Let
about
me,
others
yeah,
that is lacking here.
let me give you an example. My favorite place to be, Walmart. I I go to Walmart with my scrubs on, my hair like this, right? And I don't get any issues. No one's bothering me. I'm fine, right? On my days off, I go to Walmart. I've got sweatpants, hoodie, it's cold, and I've got my hair in a twist, which is kind of like a semi dreadlocks looking thing. I literally have people peeping around the corner looking at me. Like, are you going to? I'm like, I come to Walmart like literally like every 2 weeks or something, because I need my paper towels, I need my toilet paper, I need all my stuff. But you see me in my scrubs and you're fine. They bypass me. You're good. But then when they see me outside of that, it's a whole nother ball game. So
Yeah,
people
if they're
automatically,
not recognizing you. Yeah, and I do go into this in Terror Strikes Coming Soon to City New York. There is a truth and a degree of need and profiling if it's done right. Again, the problem here is misapplication of a concept. The FBI profiles a criminal case all the time. And it's not about black or white. It's about this happened. This is usually the kind of person we're looking for based on past a history. So this is the profile, not black or white, but this type of person. When they're misapplying profiling to, oh my God, it's a black person with dreads, you're automatically a suspect. That's a problem. Now, obviously, when you're in a scrubs, anybody in the scrubs, black, white, whatever, you're seen as a professional individual. And anybody with a hoodie, it seems these days, is indeed met with suspicion. So
it's cold.
yeah, that's the issue. Again, situational application and common sense need be applied, and it wasn't in that case.
That's why Meghan Trainor came out with that song. When I have my hoodie on, like everybody wears a hoodie, okay? The hoodie does not say that I'm carrying a gun underneath this hoodie. It's
Right.
not.
If you're walking down the street in a hoodie in 80-degree weather,
let's question that.
You're suspicious.
Yeah.
Situational common sense need be applied. I repeat that.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're like, well, I'm having a bad hair day and I I have the flu, and so my body feels cold. So in 80 degrees, right? I'm still like, I don't know. It's still a situational thing.
I have health issues. I'm always cold. So yeah, I'm kind of that person
And you're in
like you're talking
Chicago?
about. No, I'm in Detroit, in the
Detroit.
Detroit area, Detroit suburb, but yeah. So
But it's
yeah.
cold, right? It's always
Well, it
cold.
is now, but yeah, but I mean even like spring and fall when others are in shorts, I'm still all bundled up because of my health issues. I'm cold a lot. I, if you come over to my house, take a look for my thermostat. Right now, it's set to 78 degrees.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, most people's thermostats may be at 70 because it's 40 degrees outside. Mine's at 78 because of my health. And when I go to bed at night, it gets cranked up to 83 degrees. I don't turn
Woo.
it down, I turn it up because otherwise I will wake up in the middle of the night, literally
Freezing.
shivering and shaking or freezing. You know, like that Chilly Willy character, the little penguin, he cries tears
Oh,
of ice cubes.
yeah.
That's me, teeth chattering, shivering, shaking, and even at 83, there are nights I may wake up with that that chill, and I know if I don't warm up even more, I'll be shivering and shaking and feel like I'm dying. So there's a heating pad on my bed 24/7. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, I can turn it on and put it to my body to get even warmer if I need to be. So, but then, that's but to make your point, everybody's different. But would I take offense then when it's 60 degrees outside if I'm walking around in a hoodie, somebody looking at me funny? No, because I am indeed kind of out of place.
Well, you said something, everybody is different, but then everyone also is relatable. There is something relatable. We have a connection. As human beings, we all have a connection. Why? Because we're human beings. Like when you were talking about how
We should have that
we should,
connection.
but wait. When you said that thing about Chili Willy, I'm sure a lot of people don't even know who you're talking about.
No, yeah.
But I know what you're talking about because I remember used to watch that cartoon back in the days when I was younger. And it's like, even though you're all the way where you're at, I'm black, you're white, we still have some sort of something that connects us as human beings because we grew up on this damn planet. We're in the
Yeah.
same planet. We might be in a different state, in a different country, but we're on the same planet. We still have a TV. We all some of us don't watch television, but we still have a smartphone. We still can look
If
up stuff.
if we focus on those things rather than let those who for power and control
Mm-hmm.
want to use identity politics and segregation to divide us and focus on our differences rather than our similarities. Because you're
Modern
right.
day segregation.
Yep. We're seeing that literally. Leftists want to have black only dorms. Did we not just go through a whole civil rights movement in the 60s, 70s, even into the 80s and 90s about anti-racism and anti-segregation and coming together? Now these buffoons want to return us to the 1930s and segregate us again.
Oh wow.
Again,
That is going to have my listeners like, what did he just say? But go ahead.
Seriously,
No, yeah.
maybe they don't see it on their news.
Oh, I see it.
Research it.
I see
Research it. If you've not heard this before now, don't take my word for it. Please look it up.
Yeah.
Do some
Yeah.
darn research.
Well,
We
I
are
think the
all
reason
ignorant. We are
I
all
think
ignorant until we research.
I think the reason why they want to have that is because it's kind of like they want to have a connection because if sometimes we've gotten to the point where we're all used to going and not seeing ourselves on television, and we had to go through this hair ban. We go through such a situation where we lose ourselves and we become someone else, and then just to have a a college where you see somebody where you see someone and they've got their dreads in their hair, but you're not threatened by them. They're a college student. And I feel like that's the reason why, as Black people, that's why we want it.
Yeah,
But the
but
narrative
this,
that the government might have
yeah,
might be a little different. But for us, I want to feel comfortable wearing my hair bonnet while
yeah,
I'm
but
sitting in class
this is
and not be looked
racism.
at.
This is racism. This is blatant racism. It's segregation all over again. Black only dorms or black only uh, uh,
Only,
graduation only.
only meaning like if I was a white
No
person, I couldn't go.
whites, no whites allowed. Period. No whites in this black dorm. No whites at this black ceremony. This is segregation. This is separatism. This is
Mm.
racism. This is not judging people on the content of their character. Rapper Tom McDonald, white guy, puts his head in dreads, and he even has a song about it. You know, you all call it cultural appropriation. I just call it hella awesome. You know, he happens to like, you know,
Black
he's
culture.
paying, and like he says, he paying homage, right? He
It's
likes
it's
it.
culture appreciation. I get
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I
And
remember Adele had Bantu knots in her hair and she was wearing the Jamaican flag because her boyfriend's Jamaican and people made a big deal about it. And I was like, Jamaica is filled with Asians, Spanish, and there was an Asian dude that came to America and all he made was Jamaican food because that's all he knew. He was Jamaican.
yeah,
So he's appreciated his culture. It's just different because people just don't understand that there are people out there that could just appreciate. I appreciate Asian culture. Like my biggest thing was Bruce Lee when I was growing up. That was the first thing I ever saw when I was a kid, 6 years old. We only had one channel. We didn't have all the channels like American did. It was one channel. And all I saw was Kung Fu movies. And that's all I ever lived for. That was it. I wanted to speak Chinese. I dated a Chinese guy that lived in Jamaica. It's appreciation.
this it's what this country was founded as. We are called the great melting pot. We learn from each other's culture. We assimilate each other's cultures within our own culture. You cannot cry, this cry about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay,
Uh-huh.
inclusion, while you're excluding people from your dorm and excluding people from your graduation ceremony. You're a hypocrite, right? Not you. I'm saying in general, these people
Uh-huh.
who cry diversity, equity, inclusion while peddling segregation. It's it's anti-American. We have always been about inclusion and a melting pot and cultural appreciation, as you put it, and coming together and content of one's character, not you're black, so you must fit this stereotype. That's bull, and
Well,
we're
let me
losing.
interrupt you real quick just to save that so people understand. So they'll be like, what is he talking about? What I think they need to do is still let anybody come in, but then the whoever comes into my black college, you're gonna have to accept me with dreadlocks. You're gonna have to be
Oh
somebody
yeah,
who's
absolutely.
culturally appreciating it, and you're gonna have to have some bars when you come here. You're gonna have to learn some of that and you got to be down for the cause. You got to be right with it because in all actuality, you're right. We need to include people in because we need to get everybody to understand that black people are not just from the streets. We're not just from Africa. We
Right.
come from different places. You need to appreciate the culture and understand it so we don't feel like we need to put ourselves in this small little bubble. That's why, because
Yeah.
we put ourselves in a bubble because we don't feel like we're being appreciated. So we go and we isolate ourselves and go back to the oppression of that situation to where we want to just sit at an all black college. We don't want to bring anybody in, but you're leaving people out that you need to understand who we are and why we wear our hair like that and why we talk like that and why our culture. You need to teach them to understand who we are so
It's
you're not in a bubble and so people don't come up to you like, hey brother, no, talk to me right. And until you get to know me, then you can approach me that way. Become
Yeah,
my friend and my best friend, and don't profile me, because
right.
there's a lot of Black people out there that are nerds that go to Comic Con. There's people out there that run businesses. There's people out there that go for runs in the morning. They do that. We do
Yeah,
that. We do
it's
everything
it's
that you guys do.
it's mutual respect. And
Yes.
again, since we're on racism, great friend of mine, Phil Stargell. I mentioned abolition. Well, I mentioned the 9 a.m. show on Wham. It's called the Abolitionist Roundtable. He is a Black conservative, but a lot of people's mentality, and it is a racist mentality, that if you're Black, you got to be a leftist. You have to think a certain way. And oh shoot, I forgot where else I wanted to go with it. But again, this
I
you
do
know,
that.
left wing racists are the pigeonholers here. The Democrats were the Confederacy, the party of slavery. Lincoln, who now a lot of people want to tear his statue down, literally freed the slaves, the first Republican president, but yet they want to tear down his statue as well as the Confederate soldiers because they don't know anything. You know, the mutual respect, and damn it, I lost that train of thought again. But no, the bigotry here, the bigotry that still comes from the leftist mentality. 80% of Black people agree with the concept of voter ID because why? They believe in honor, integrity, fairness, and that yes, you should actually be a U.S. citizen like the law requires and legally registered to vote where you're trying to vote. 80% of the Black community agrees with that. But racist leftists keep saying we can't have voter ID because Black people don't have access to IDs. What? Are you kidding me? That is racist trope nonsense. You have an ID. Every Black person I know has an ID. You need an ID to get a bank account, to drive a car, to buy alcohol or cigarettes. Do Black people not do these things? That is abject racist to say a Black person is incapable of getting an ID. And it infuriates the hell out of me, as you could tell.
I think the kids down the street that don't want to get an ID, I mean, even the kids that are on the corner slinging, they still stop by the liquor store and show their ID in order to get their liquor. So I never heard that before. I mean, I have always had an ID, but then again, people will
don't
probably say,
again,
yeah.
don't take my word for it. Watch C-SPAN and see these buffoons. Even Maxine Waters, a Black person herself, will stand there and argue we can't have voter ID because Black people are excluded from getting IDs, even when the states that have voter ID laws offer the ID for free. So you don't have to have a penny. They will even come pick you up to take you to the DMV to get your free ID. So there are no excuses for anyone in any situation or circumstance to say, I cannot get an ID.
Well, once you get that ID, you go and you vote for better gun laws, because, and then also while you're at it down there, figure out what you could do in order to become a better person for your community, like getting creating a business. This is to everybody. Just think about it. Everybody is a business owner. I don't care if you are a drug dealer. I don't care if you're selling tapes out of your car. This is why some of those people that were selling tapes out of the car, like Jay-Z, he is like, I think he's one of the richest Black men in America.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
was slinging, he started being a business owner,
yeah,
slinging stuff out of his car, you
yeah.
know? And he went a couple of years without even having, like, I don't know if he has a gun charge. I really can't even tell you, but you know, um, I just want people to understand the importance of having a gun and why they need to protect themselves, but they need to do it right. If you're going to get a gun, if you're going to get a business, if you're going to buy a book, you do your research ahead of time. You don't just go jumping into something. And if you're going to do something illegal, know for a fact that you're going to get caught. Everybody get caught.
It
Even if you
goes,
don't,
and
you're going to mess with your head anyways.
yeah, and this goes back to you brought up, and I again, not to make this religious, but the victim mentality and people, you allowing someone else to keep you in that victim mindset, to keep power and control over you, become a victor, not a victim in the biblical sense. Let's throw out the religious, okay? Penn